Good morning. My name is Nancy McDowell. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees here at MLUC. Welcome. Spring is almost here. It was yesterday, but not today. Spring welcomes the reborn, the new and the old, but a refreshed old. May we all feel refreshed as we join together today in community. I want to give a special welcome to those online who are here today. Last week we had more than 50 streaming online, so it's a big crowd there. We love you. Keep coming back. And those of you joining for the first time or coming back after a hiatus, welcome, welcome. Come gather across the hall after the service for refreshments and conversation. Let me introduce our worship team today. Reverend John Morehouse, our senior minister. Dawn Star Sarahs-Borchelt, Director of Learning and Family Ministries, to lead our time for all ages. Our worship associate is Bob Barker. And music this morning, it's a debut of the new MLUC band, led by David Brown. You'll hear more about the band from David. And now a special announcement from Dana Wiley, who heads our stewardship team.
Good morning. I know money is one of the last taboos people want to talk about. But hey, I was an Our Whole Lives sexuality educator for our youth, so I can talk about anything. And I know from my 35 years here that your financial gifts make our collaborative visions for a better future possible. Last Sunday, I was talking with a person visiting from another UU church, and she was so excited by the energy and joyfulness she experienced upon entering our church and in the service. And then another young couple shared that they had been visiting for a month and were eager to get their official name tags today. Are the Prouds here? Did they get their name tags? I don't see them, but they were very excited. I too have been thrilled and inspired to see the fruition of all that we envisioned last spring. Our growing number of visiting families of all ages, worship and music, meditation and other contemplative practices, creative arts, children's faith development, social action projects, you'll see some outside there today, and small group ministry for joy and spiritual care in our community. Thank you for all you have done to get us to this point. I really, really appreciate it personally and on behalf of the stewardship team. Today, we ask you to make your pledge to our 25-26 annual fund by the end of this month to help continue this incredible momentum and to create the future we envision together. And why do we need your promise by the end of March? Well, our board can plan and present the upcoming fiscal year budget to you well in advance of our annual congregational meeting in June. You can either complete a paper pledge form, if you're so inclined, in the atrium after the services this month, or you can submit your pledge online. There's a QR code on the back of your order of service. And also, you can access a link through the MLUC homepage for those at home. Board trustees and the stewardship team are available to assist you in the atrium after the service. So pledge today, stretching according to your means. As we all know, we are needed now more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dana and the team. And now kindly silence your electronic devices and join me in reciting our mission statement. Together, we transform lives through love, service, and our welcoming faith.
So thanks for the introduction, Nancy. I am delighted to introduce the new MLUC band, which is not, in fact, just the musicians you see up here on the chancel. but a collective of musicians throughout the congregation. I'm looking at many of you who I have bugged to do this, who you'll see rotating month after month as we decide new repertoire and based on our availability to present electroacoustic, non-classical genres like rock and jazz and pop, disco. We've done it all. So this morning, we'll have Jody, as always, on the piano, Nathan, Jay, Henry, respectively on the guitar, drums, and bass. We're gonna have a lot of fun.
The reading for the chalice lighting this morning is Trust by Thomas Smith. It's like so many other things in life to which you must say no or yes. So you take your car to the new mechanic. Sometimes the best thing to do is trust. The package left with a disreputable-looking clerk, the check gulped by the night deposit, the envelope passed by dozens of strangers, all show up at their intended destinations. The theft that could have happened doesn't. Wind finally gets where it was going, through the snowy trees and the river, even when frozen, arrives at the right place. And sometimes you sense how faithfully your life is delivered, even though you can't read the address. We now invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing the opening hymn, number 1015.
Once upon a time, there was a traveler who got lost in the desert. The water in his flask had run out, and he was on his last legs. And he knew that if he didn't get water soon, he would surely die. He saw a small hut way over there, And he thought maybe it would be a mirage or a hallucination, but he didn't really have any other choices, so he went towards what he could see. And as he got closer, he realized it was real. So he dragged his tired body to the door with the last of his strength. There was nobody inside. It seemed like it had been abandoned for quite a while, but he went in anyway, hoping against hope that maybe there was water inside. And then he saw what was inside the hut, which was a water pump. There was a pipe that went down through the floor, probably into some underground well. And so he found the strength to start working the pump. But nothing came out. He kept at it, and still nothing happened. Finally, he gave up in exhaustion and frustration, and he threw his hands up in the air. It looked like he was going to have to die after all. But then he noticed that there was a bottle in the corner of the hut. It was filled with water, and it was corked tightly so that the water wouldn't just all evaporate in the desert air. He uncorked the bottle, and he was about to drink it when he noticed that there was a piece of paper attached to it. And the paper said, "Use this water to start the pump. Don't forget to fill the bottle when you're done." So he had a dilemma. He could follow the instructions and pour that life-giving water, the only water he knew where it was, down the well, or he could ignore it and just drink the water. What to do? If he let the water go into the pump, what assurance did he have that it would work? What if the pump didn't work anymore? What if it had a leak? What if the underground reservoir had dried up? But then maybe the instructions were correct. Should he risk it? Do you think? If the note turned out to be false, he would be throwing away the last water he might ever see. So, hands trembling, he decided to pour the water into the pump. And then he closed his eyes, and he said a prayer, and he started working the pump, and he heard the gurgling sound. And water came gushing out, more than he could possibly use. And he luxuriated in the cool, refreshing stream. He was going to live. So after drinking his fill and feeling much better, he looked around the hut. Now that he had some capacity for thought. He found a pencil and a map of the region. The map showed that he was still far away from his civilization, but at least he now knew where he was and which way to go. He filled his flask for the journey ahead. He also filled the bottle and put the cork back in. And before leaving the hut, he added his own note below the instructions. "Believe me, it works." And now it's time for children and youth to go to their classes. Let's sing them on their way. Oh, now in peace go.
Each month, MLUC selects an offering outreach partner, a local charity with whom we will share half of what we collect during our Sunday service offering. The partner recipient for March this year is Pennsylvania Interfaith Power and Light. Rebecca Pulse will introduce the spokesperson for that organization.
Hi, good morning. I'm Rebecca Pulse. I'm a co-chair of the Biodiversity Project, along with Pam Costi, who unfortunately was unable to be here today. Our Biodiversity Project is called Nature's Best Hope is You. and it's running now through May. At our heart, our project is simple. Learn more about biodiversity in our own backyard and why it so urgently matters. Grow empowered to make a positive difference, and then take actions, personal and in the wider community, to do just that. During this project, you'll meet 3 terrific offering outreach partners and sponsors of our activities. All are action-oriented champions for the environment. This month, we support Pennsylvania Interfaith Power and Light, a group that recognizes we cannot build social or environmental justice in a vacuum. We have to connect with people of other faiths. A number of MLUC members have been involved with this statewide organization over the years, and you too can get involved. It is my pleasure to welcome Kay Ruth, Executive Director of Pennsylvania Interfaith Power and Light, here today to tell you about what their organization is doing for biodiversity and other environmental projects. And please join Kay out in the atrium after with any further questions you have after the service. Kay?
Good morning, friends. It's such a delight to be here with you today. Thank you for that kind introduction. And please, I hope you will engage in this project as it continues. There's lots of wonderful partners involved. I'm so delighted to be here while you all are kicking off today. As was already shared, my name is Kay Ruth. I use they, them pronouns. I'm so delighted to be here with you today and also to bring warm greetings from the entire Pennsylvania Interfaith Power and Light team and our board that stretch across this beautiful state known as Pennsylvania. We're living in challenging times, yeah? Yeah, I'll take a deep breath. Pennsylvania Interfaith Power and Light is committed to standing in that gap. We understand that cultivating a response to the climate crisis is a moral necessity, right? There's a great scientific argument that can be made for why we should care about climate. There's a great policy argument that can be made. There are so many good ways that we can talk about this shared home, this shared earth that we have. Pennsylvania Interfaith Power and Light is dedicated to raising the moral voice, asking questions like, what do we owe each other? What do we owe this shared planet that we call home? Those are the kind of questions that we want to cultivate, and we want to bring a strong multi-faith response to that question in all places across the state and beyond. So, what does that look like? We run a number of different programs and campaigns. We are primarily a network. And so what that means is we are a place where people come and convene who are inspired and mobilized to take action on climate across a whole wide range of issues. So we run programming like our wonderful Watersheds program that helps congregations and communities take localized watershed action to heal the shared waters in our communities. We have a program called PA Plants Native, which works and to date has distributed over 200,000 native trees across the state of Pennsylvania. And you'll learn more about that program as you all continue in your biodiversity project over this next couple months here. We also are relentless in our advocacy work. We do a lot of work in the federal landscape, which is really, really, really important right now. Call your representatives. We also are the home of a number of other smaller programs and projects, like the example of what you all are doing here over the next couple of months. We aren't the progenitor of everything that's happening across the state. We serve as a hub for people who are trying to organize and do things at the local level and do that together with other people who care. I think that that model is really powerful. It's grounded in relationships and our ability to be in community and right relationship with each other. It also acknowledges our responsibility as faith communities practicing across the different traditions that we do. The different ways that we come to our faith invite us into wondering what our relationship is to the wider world around us. We can't just come here, worship together, and then click off and go on our merry ways, right? Our faith influences our lives. It also, for me, as we look at this landscape that is so challenging right now, I'm finding that my own sense of hope and groundedness must come from my faith practices. My spirituality is the thing that's creating resiliency and sustaining me. And how cool it is that we get to do that together, that I can come here and share my spiritual practice with you, that you can share your spiritual practice with me, and that might ground us for this good fight that we're in together. So I encourage you, find ways to get involved. Come chat with me afterwards. I'll be in the atrium. We are the offertory outreach partner for this month, so please, one way you can partner with us is by giving. We are driven by our small donors all across the state who help make our programming possible. So thank you for your time. Thank you for inviting me into this space with you today, and I look forward to chatting more.
Thank you. If you wish to donate online, follow the instructions that you see on the screen behind me. If you're in the sanctuary and would like to make a cashless donation, you can scan the QR code that is in the order of service. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Dark as the path beneath the endless forest of his thought, the world he dreams about is gone. And as he stumbles to find his way to comfort without light, he feels the thing that cannot die, and he hears a voice say, don't let this hold you back. And he hears a voice say, don't let this break your world. Fires of faith are cold, the world he thought is wondrous is dead. The hymns are vacuous and void, the choirs that once sang in the valley of his shadow now are strangers to his ears, and he hears a voice deep within his heart. He hears a voice saying, let this build your world.
Candles of Community is MLUC's ritual of personal sharing and support in a trusted and safe environment. After each candle is lit, you may say along with me, we hold you in our hearts. Debbie and Rick McKnight share a joy. They are thrilled to be joined in the service today by Rick's niece, Kelly McKnight, and her husband, Steve Allen. They are big Portland Trailblazers fans and are here to watch the 76ers beat their team. Win or lose, we love having them here. For Debbie, Rick, Kelly, and Steve, we hold you in our hearts. We have 2 requests to light a candle for Ukraine. One from Eileen Andrews, joining her friends and neighbors to send their love and concern to the people of Ukraine and their leaders. The second from Judy Wilson, a candle of gratitude for President Zelensky for showing courage and restraint and showing true decency, love of country, and patriotism for all of Ukraine. We hold you in our hearts. I would like to add one concern, and that is for the millions of people here in the United States and around the world who now live in desperate fear. There's many reasons for that, and we hold you in our hearts. Finally, for all those joys and concerns that are held close, some too deep for words, we light one more candle. Know that we hold you in our hearts. The reflective reading this morning I call Trust Your Compass. When I was just 19 years old in 1965, I headed off to a job as a field assistant in geology in northern Quebec. I landed in Rouen, Quebec, and then quickly found myself at the edge of a gravel road with Mike, my boss, a lunch and water in my day pack, and a very unfamiliar axe in my right hand. It's simple, Mike said. Run a compass line due east for 1.5 miles, blazing the trees with your axe as you go, and cut a post every 1/4 mile. I had no idea what he was talking about. Someone has already run a line here. You should be able to follow that line. The problem was that the compass showed where east was, but the previous line was not quite east-west. I didn't believe the compass, and the line pulled me to the north. I met Mike for lunch. We were supposed to be 1/4 mile apart. I want you to work with Victor McKenzie for a while, Mike said. Victor McKenzie, in spite of his name, was a Native American, kind, soft-spoken, and full of wisdom for life and working in the woods. I worked with him. Relax, Victor told me. You're working too hard. Don't try to be perfect. Trust your compass. Just start walking. Your compass will take you where you need to go. I think of Victor often. His advice has guided me for many years. Today, I look around at my world. It's a world in shambles. It's hard to know what to do, hard to begin. But as Unitarians, we have a wonderful compass, a moral compass. We know where we need to be. Just as Victor told me some 60 years ago, trust your compass. Just start walking. Your compass will take you where you need to be. Just start walking. Just start.
They sang at the break of day. Start again, I heard them say. Don't dwell on what is passed away or what has yet to be. Oh, the wars, they will be fought again. The holy dove, she will be caught again. Bought and sold and bought again. The dove is never free. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. We asked for signs, but the signs were sent. The birth betrayed, the marriage spent. Oh, the widowhood of every government. Signs for all to see. I can't run no more with that lawless crowd, while the killers in our places say their prayers out loud. Oh, but they've summoned up a thundercloud, and they're gonna hear from me. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. You can add up the parts, but you won't have the sum. You can strike up the march on your broken little drum. Every heart to love will come, but like a refugee. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in.
Thanks to the band. Who doesn't love a little Leonard Cohen about now? All around me, the world was normal, people eating dinner or walking down the street. But my world? Some massive invisible hand kept capturing me, then tossing me into the air, and I'd somersault and fall and be caught and placed upright again. Right on the ground. All night it went on like this. I'd be walking, and then I'd be flying, and then I'd be falling, and then I'd be caught until finally, by morning, I couldn't say that it wasn't disconcerting, but I could say I'd become more fluent in this strange upheaval. I could say I had begun to trust the same hand that tossed me would catch me. I could say that when I woke up, I was still myself, and yet nothing felt the same. And though my feet never left the ground today, I was tossed, and then I was caught, and even now, I almost feel them around my chest, those great fingers, as they set me on my feet again. This poem by Rosemary Watola Tromer captures for me beautifully the paradox that we are living through right now. The world tossing us with dystopia and fantastic lies, proclaimed as truth, leaving us with a serious case of existential vertigo. Can you hear me? And yet again, here we are again with pulsating energy like last Sunday and the Sunday before that and a long stream of Sundays here at MLUC, the room full of energy and kids and beloved elders and everyone in between clapping and rocking with what? Could I go so far as to call it joy? Perhaps joy in spite of everything. Today, we have MLUC's new house band, right? How about another round of applause for that? Although, beloveds, it's a slippery slope here. Big screens, house bands. What's next? A church bus? Or potlucks with green Jell-O, complete with little marshmallows on the inside? Anybody know what I'm talking about, or is that a Midwestern thing? Well, not the Jell-O. A little more taste than the Jell-O. But when I told you that if this administration came to power, we'd be more religious, this is it. More religious, right? And here's the better news. It's not just us. Oh no. Across the country, religion, all kinds of religions, and all those who are seeking some spiritual meaning and practice are making a huge comeback. Why? Not so much that we're in another great awakening, slayed by the Holy Spirit, as my Pentecostal friends would say. No, we need to trust in one another because we need to find joy in this present madness. Can you hear me? When I was in California a few weeks ago at the large church conference, I went out early for a cup of coffee. Now, the large church conference was in Rancho Palos Verdes, which is the neighborhood I lived in. Francis and I lived there for 10 years, served the church there. My barista name, you should all know, just in case you're curious, is not John. There's way too many Johns in the world. I call myself Theo. Thelonious for short, or long. I always wanted to be called Theo, God for the Greek word for God, although not so much for ego purposes, but because my life is largely defined by the spirituality I live in and the practice that Francis and I try to teach. And so while my middle initial is T, which stands for my robber baron great-grandfather, John Thompson, not something I'm particularly proud of, I pretend the T stands for Thelonious, or Theo for short. As I was waiting for my coffee, the barista called out Theo, and the person in line with me commented on the name, Theo. Is that short for Theodore or Thelonious? I was already intrigued because he had Thelonious in his mind, so I said, Thelonious, I said. He said, like the great jazz, great Thelonious Monk. I said, yeah. I already like this guy. He likes jazz, too. And we proceeded to talk about Monk and jazz, and somehow, oh, I don't know, somehow the conversation drifted to what I did for a living. And you all know I hate to tell people what I do for a living, because I usually get two kinds of answers. The most frequent is a confession. I'm sorry, I haven't been to church in quite a while. To which I usually say, you are forgiven, and make the sign of the chalice around them. Or sometimes I get the longer explanation about how God saved them and how they've turned their life over to Christ, and to that I say very little. And the third response I get occasionally is, I don't believe in God. To which I often say, I probably don't believe in your God either. But this time my interlocutor said something else. He said, I'm glad you're here. We need religious communities, I think. We need them now more than ever. And then he went on to say, note the confession part, I just lost my job. I was a contractor for the federal government. We really don't know what we're going to do. We just bought a house. It's also crazy. It's also mean-spirited. We are not parasites. We were doing real work in the world, helping people. This is all so crazy. At this point, we sat down. I asked him if he had any kind of a community that he was a part of, because being in a community is what we need right now for the strength for the days ahead before us. And he said, well, my kids play soccer, so we're parents of sort of a community. But he said it's not the same. So we talked about what he believed, about his purpose in life, whether he believed in some sort of higher power or meaning. He said he doesn't really believe in God, but he believed in a force. He said, you know, like Star Wars. I said, yeah, like Star Wars. I suggested that his family and he try a few congregations. And I added quickly, said, I'm not really evangelizing here, listen, but what is happening is far more powerful than any of us can handle alone. And we need to be together to practice compassion and bring a small light of joy into our world. And since this was the same neighborhood that I had once ministered to 10 years ago, I knew the congregations in the neighborhood. And I suggested a few, including, of course, our UU congregation down the corner. Now more than ever, beloveds, we need one another. We need this community. But I'd like to hear from you about what we need now more than ever. And so we're going to do that thing that I do. I want you to give it a whirl. Even if you don't feel like it, turn to your neighbor or neighbors. And the question I'd like you to answer in a few minutes is, what do we need now more than ever? So let's just give that a spin and see what happens. Such a quiet, introverted bunch of folks. Let's hear from a few of you. We've got some ushers with some mics. Let's just raise your hand, and an usher will bring the mic to you. What do we need now more than ever? Over here, Gary.
Hi, I'm Kathy. Well, Eileen and I talked a lot about hope, that we're feeling like I need more of that because I'm losing my own. And I guess what would help me is to know that there are 1 billion people out there who also care enough to do a little bit to help somehow, because I certainly will.
Thank you.
We talked about courage, kindness, and more wine.
More wine, yeah.
I think we need more love and family members to come into our hearts more and be togetherness. And as a congregation, have more family come here, like my mother. I've been trying to get her to come here, and it's been a while. And so I'd like her to start coming with me. And I think I need encouragement from the other people in the congregation to get people to come together, and family is most important.
Amen. Thank you. Others?
I believe that what we need is a plan. I think we need to start to organize, and we need to get active. Thank you.
And then one more, Nuala, let's take you.
We spoke about action being the antidote to despair. So all signed Pat's postcards today.
Thank you. I do appreciate those responses, and it goes to show, I think, about how much there is among us that can help us find ways to move forward through this. If you were brand new this week and had no idea what we just did, welcome. We're glad you're with us. David Brooks, just last week, speaking to a group in the UK, said that we're in a time of rupture and repair. He was very blunt. He said the rupture is the result of elitism that has alienated and harmed so many that now we're seeing the worst of the elites destroy our moral and institutional fabric. But we've been here before. Maybe not in our lifetimes, but in lifetimes past. Perhaps we are, as Paul Tillich once said, lying in the basement of our souls, only to break through to a new basement below that. What is going to save us, I think, is doing this right here, and a lot more, of course. Being here, friends, is not a distraction. It's a rebirth. We're holding the light of the moral order, the compass, as Bob was talking about. We're holding a flame, a small flame, that is flickering in the wind, but I do believe will start a fire. And now more than ever, we need one another. We need communities like this one, the one we're in right here, right now. We need to hold on to each other. Our spiritual theme for the month of March is trust. I will admit that when I sat down to write this sermon on Thursday, I stared at that screen for 30 minutes. What in the world could I possibly say that would be at all helpful in a world that seems so shattered, especially around the theme of trust? But trust, friends, is what holds us together. And there's more of it than you might think. As we heard in the readings this morning, there's trust that people will still conduct commerce. There's trust that, for the most part, loved ones will be safe, and that there's justice and truth, and it eventually will prevail. And one of the reasons we come to a community like this one and the others that are out there, and I urge you to go to communities and bring your families, because now is the time. We do this to prime the pump for all the thirsty people out there. I'm not going to sugarcoat what's happening, but neither do I want it to debilitate us. Because when we trust each other and we trust those who feel the same way we do, we will find a way forward. I guarantee it, we will. A Harvard professor, Francis Frey, once said that trust requires 3 qualities. The first is authenticity. To trust someone or something, they need to know you're authentic. You all know, right? You've all been with a salesperson that seems a little too slick. Not quite there. One of the things I love about this congregation is that you are authentic. Oh, you are authentic. You are full of possibilities, full of opinions, full of mistakes. I among you. And in this whole bunch of humanity, from fidgety kids to a few off-key voices, do we have problems? You bet we have problems. Every community has problems. But I often say we're the most fun you can have and still be called a religion. The second quality to trust is reasonableness. Does it make any sense at all? When people ask me what you use, believe, I tell them, we believe a lot of things. Some of us will call that thing a god or give it some name, but most don't. Most of us, I said, are still searching. We're searching for a faith greater than ourselves, something that makes sense. We're not dogmatic, and I hope we're at least reasonable in how we approach that. Because we believe in such reasonable things as human dignity, even when people do awful things. We believe in equity, even where we're not good at practicing it. We believe in compassion for others and for ourselves, even when we falter. We believe in freedom, and most of all, we believe in love. Love is at the center of our faith. Love is really what matters. And when someone is not kind, when we run into someone who is coming to our church with less than kind things to say, I usually these days just say, there's enough meanness to go around. Let's not go there. Most of all, friends, we believe in each other despite our imperfections, perhaps because of those imperfections. And the final quality is empathy. In order to find trust at the center of our faith, we must be able to empathize with others. We must know how it feels, or at least approach it. That is why the candles of community are so important. We hold you in our hearts. Today we are launching the annual operating fund, which is also known as the Pledge Drive. And as in all sermons on the amount, I need to take a minute to explain what that's about, because many of us don't have any idea how our finances work. First of all, really, there's not a lot of mystery here. We don't get any money from the outside denomination. We are entirely self-funded. And beyond these walls and those within here, we are part of a larger community, and this community, this congregation that we have, needs to raise about $1 million a year to run this place. That's what it takes. For the salaries of our amazing staff, for the outreach we're doing, for the upkeep of this gorgeous building. Now, we get some money, quite a bit of money from rent, and we get some money from fundraisers. We give most of our plate away, so that's not really a big source of money for us. So it leaves about $750,000 we have to raise among ourselves. So no matter who you are, member, visitor, friend, we are asking for your help, because we can't do this without you. The pledge is the amount of money we're asking you to think about for the coming year, not counting the special fundraisers and what you put in the basket. And our fiscal year is not the same as the calendar year. It runs from July 1st to June 30th. So we're asking for this fairly early, and I often hear about this. Why do you need to know this in March? We need to know it because we can't build a budget without knowing what that number is. Now, I realize projecting how much money you think you might be able to give over a year is tricky business, especially as uncertain as things are now. Your pledge is your best hope, your aspiration as to what you'll be able to give, and of course, if circumstances change, you can lower your pledge. You can also raise your pledge. And in fact, if you're having trouble making the pledge or in any other way, please reach out. We have resources. The pledge is what we hope to do, and honestly, it should feel a little bit like a stretch. If you can't imagine a whole year, try thinking of it monthly. Now, how much should you pledge? This varies immensely by who you are, by what you have, by how involved you are. When I was serving the church in California, I had a film producer who came up to me one Sunday and she said, "You know, Reverend, in figuring out how much to pledge, I figured you're as good as a good movie." So I based my pledge on what I would pay for a good movie once a week, which in California at that time was $15, $20. Nice, I said. Actually, I don't remember what I said, but it probably wasn't nice. Moviegoers, of course, are in the millions, and we're not. But beyond that, it's not entertainment. I mean, you may come here and feel entertained. I mean, with a band like this, how can you lose? But that's not what we're here for. We're here to build community. We're here to build something more. So as you're thinking about what to give, think about what this place means. Now, we don't tithe, which those of you who come from other backgrounds may have heard is giving 10% of your income, although that would be nice. Although that would be nice, we usually think in the range, and it's a broad range, from 1% to 5% of your income. You figure it out. I know people who give much more than that. They've been here for a long time. They know this place is the center of their lives. It's the rock on which they live. Some folks start smaller and they work their way up. You get to decide. But more than anything else, and this is the important piece, more than anything else, we're shooting for 100% participation. I really mean that. I want everyone to make a pledge for next year. This is the year, if you haven't got that already. Got to prime the pump. Prime the pump, because there's thirsty souls out there. I'd also like to welcome any of you who would like to become formal members of our congregation, and you can do that by seeing someone at the welcome table. After the service today and after the service for the next 3 Sundays in March, we're having a program called Starting Point. We have openings, we have lunch, we have childcare, 11:30 in the McGinnis room. Just drop in, we'd love to have you. David Brooks, that New York Times columnist that I spoke about, told the group that the elite have rigged society and now it seems to be falling apart. That's not a radical statement. That's happening in real time. Brooks said the answer from good-meaning people was to let your lives speak, borrowing something from the great Quaker Matthew Fox. Let your lives speak. Live with virtue that lies in your heart, he said. Practice soulcraft. Be together in a small group, because he said when a small group of people find a better way to love, when we relate to each other by opening up our best selves and trusting one another in a way to live, something happens and others copy it. Culture changes, he said, when we relate to each other with an attentive and generous gaze. As I recalled my meeting in the coffee shop, I wish I could have imparted some hope to the man who lost his job. There is another possibility, friends, and I think you're sitting in it right now. We commit to one another to feed that small flame and feed the fire of the souls, to make it ablaze so that others can carry on. Because we are needed now more than ever. The beating heart of who we are. As we heard in the Anthem by Leonard Cohen, every heart to love will come, but like a refugee, ring the bells that can still ring. Forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Please join me as we rise in body and spirit and sing number 1028, The Fire of Commitment. Oh, may we go out today with trust in the tenderness that often arise to hold us, and the confidence and the courage that arises from within but is not fully our own doing, and with the faith in a larger love that never ends and never lets us go. This concludes our service, but friends, have a seat, stand, dance as we listen to our postlude. Emphasis on dance.
Precious than a pot of gold, and far more rare than the cruelty we let unfold. Never mind, the differences are all so clear. Oh, but blood is blood, and nothing changes when you live in fear. May never understand that the brotherhood of man is for all to know, and it's our right to lend a helping hand to the ones who need it so. So take the necessary time to open up your mind and look around you. Brothers, sisters everywhere, fighting for what's right and fair. Are all so clear. All but blood is blood and blood is blood.